Hey, you guys.
Hey there.
Welcome in. Welcome in. I am finishing up some preliminary things. But hey, you guys, welcome in. Welcome to What's Cooking at Your Church. And guess what church we're going to talk about today? We're going to talk about the church being us, being ourselves, right? And so I'm excited today to be making what I call one of my self-care meals, right? It's not often that I get to sit and, relax and things like that, but I wanted to take the time at the beginning of what we consider the Love Month and Black History Month to take an opportunity to let us know that it's okay for us to rest and it's okay for us to relax. And so I'm going to show you, I've created a relaxation board for myself, and I'm going to show you guys what I cook and eat when I relax. Now, I'm starting off with this steak because it's the longest lead time. So if you're a good chef in the kitchen, you always take your longest lead item and you cook that first. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place this in my skillet. I only have just a little oil in here. The only thing I put on this steak is I'm just doing a little salt. And I know some of y'all be like, "Ooh, Lord Jesus, just salt and pepper." Yes, it depends on your cut of steak. Now, this particular steak is just a sirloin, and it's more steak than I'm going to eat today. And that's why I'm going to show you guys how I can stretch the steak to be about at least, it's going to be lunch today, and it'll probably be a part of breakfast tomorrow, and then maybe some little light snack throughout the week, right? But I just wanted to check in on you guys. I'm going to add a little garlic to this as well. I wanted to check in on you guys to see how you were doing. I mean, there's just so much going on and and all that good stuff. Um, I'm kind of reminded of last week. I told you guys that Mr. Perkins was coming on Thursday, and he did. And just as fast as he flipped in here, he flipped out. So he wasn't able to be with me today. But I think that he's going to be very proud that I was able to carry on without him and to let you guys know how it is that I relax because we did have an event this weekend, and so after that, I normally take at least a day of rest just to decompress and all that good stuff. And so I'm gonna let my steak cook, but I wanted to introduce you guys to this. Well, first, before I introduce who's with me, I'm gonna say this because I said we're gonna talk about us, meaning our personal selves being the church today. I wanted to make sure that I put us all on the same playing field, right? And that is simply this: because we are the church, there is scripture that tells us that we're supposed to guard our hearts, right? And not just guard our hearts, but guard our hearts through Christ Jesus. That means that our hearts are supposed to be in the same posture as Christ's heart, right? And I hear people say all the time, can you get new friends in your 30s? Can you get new friends in your 40s? Or you can get a new friend whenever you open your heart up to that person to be your friend. And that's who I want to introduce to you today because my heart is always in a posture of love and my heart is always in a posture of those new mercies that God provides for us every morning. I have met the most amazing young lady. And when I tell you she is my left hand, my right hand, my left arm, my right arm, she is all those things. And not only that, she is just an amazing young lady. And she also shares the same year that my daughter was born. And I tease them all the time. And I call them the 1991 crew. I say after this crew, I don't know what happened to the rest of the kids, but her name is Michelle Eunice. Michelle, say hi to the people.
Hey, everybody. And hey, Drew. Look, Drew, you're like the impeccable woman. I think about my mother, I think about my grandmother, my sister, and just amazing women that I have been privileged to have in my life, and you are there with them. So thank you for um like you talked about, just being a friend. I know we work together.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's like it's professional Drew, Auntie Drew, friend Drew, Mama Drew, because me
Right.
and Driana share the same birth year, but you are just a phenomenal woman, and I'm just so proud of you. It's always a privilege to be with you, to work with you, and thank you for letting me be on your show today.
I know it's funny because I'm actually on the opposite side of how we first interacted. You were interviewing me, so I'm going to tell the people a little bit about yourself, and then I want you to tell them a little bit more. So, for me and to me, Michelle is my new daughter, and she is also the producer of everything you see coming out of Serve Family Style. Michelle is an impeccable young lady. She is so detailed. She is so sharp. She is on the cusp of all things that she needs to know. She also has a podcast, and her podcast is called Christ Over Culture. It is so amazing. I want you guys to check out her podcast. She has some amazing interviews, and you'll probably see the interview that she did with me at Robinson Farms, but please check her out. But Michelle, tell the people just a little bit more about Michelle Eunice.
Yes, yes. Drew, that's really we connected initially at a wedding, and then I was like, everybody should know about Robinson Farms Next Gen and what you drew and your family. And so thank you for being on the Christ Over Culture podcast last year. That's definitely how we
Absolutely.
connected one on one. And for everyone out there, I'm Michelle Eunice. I am the founder and the host of Christ Over Culture. You can go to christoverculture.com. We're a Christian media company and lifestyle brand. So you see Serve Family Style, which is the show that I produce for Drew. I also have my podcast, Christ Over Culture, which I host, and we're actually ramping back up. So I have a few interviews that are really exciting. You'll meet the latest Christian authors, movie makers, people who are really moving and shaking and providing content to just fuel your body and your soul. And then I also help with other brands. So if you have a show idea, a podcast idea, please visit christoverculture.com.
Yeah.
Drop me a note so that I can help you launch your idea, your project, because I feel like we should just spread all of our gifts and talents in the world, and God gave us each a light to shine. So if I can help you bring that to fruition, I will. And yeah, I just love all things media. I'm an HBCU graduate. I graduated from Spelman
Woohoo!
College. So super
So
proud
jealous.
of that. I also I'm a career changer. So worked in healthcare for several years, and now I'm in media. And so I'm a proud graduate of USC. So I was really blessed to get a fellowship, several fellowships to go to USC. Worked on a studio lot for a major movie companies. So I'm just really, really excited about being able to share my gifts and talents for the kingdom.
Yeah, and share them. She does. She actually has a heart of gold. And the reason I tease her and Dree about being born in 1991, they really like the class of 1991 was I think they were kissed by God because they, or maybe it's just the millennials, right? They really are hard workers. They are attentive to detail, and they are producers. They produce things like you can see their fruit, right? The fruit of their labor. So they are going to labor. And Michelle, that is one of the things why. I mean, one of the reasons why. Just one of the many reasons why I love you and I so appreciate you. And so anytime she's scooting down here and she got a special request to cook, you best know I'm burning up all the eyes.
I'm coming for my bread pudding.
Yes.
Y'all, you have to see Drew cook her bread pudding. I mean, she is a woman of many talents, and the fact that like food is just a key to my heart, I'm just like, oh my goodness, like how did I get so blessed? But no, I love
Right.
you, Drew, and I'm looking forward to your bread pudding because it's love in a pan, or like I can't describe it. You put so much thought and love into everything you do, including your bread pudding, which I'll come get soon.
Yes, well, count it already made. But yeah, so let's get back to talk. We're gonna get back a little bit while the steak is still cooking. We're gonna start talking about again, just about self care. So I was talking a little earlier with Michelle as we started to prepare about what we were talking about today, and it really dawned on me that it is important for us to love ourselves, right? So that we can love others properly. But we can only do that if we're loving ourselves through the lens of Christ, right? And so that is definitely something that I had to learn. Um, and I think that when you're loving somebody through the lens of Christ, like your love is endless, it's boundless, right? And I'm not saying that you allow people to take advantage of you and things like that, but the love is so pure and it's so boundless that it fuels you, it feeds you, right? And so that is the kind of love that I know that new friends, old friends, or just even acquaintances, people should feel like that they have been blessed because of your presence. And that is something that I'm so mindful of when I'm interacting with so many people, moving through the airports, moving through, the L, or just moving in town. Um, I am purposeful about greeting people and saying hello so that if nobody has been spoken to that day, I want to make sure that I'm the person speaking to them. And so I just want to ask you, Michelle, when you think about, you know, loving yourself, how does that, how does that bear out? What do you practice for your self care?
Yeah, the easiest way I can break it down is mind, body, and soul. I'll just start off with walking. I really enjoy walking. So that's one way that I take care of myself and that I show love to myself. I'm like, hey, this body takes me a long way. There's a
Yes.
lot we have to do every day. And so that time where I can walk is really amazing to me. And then I always enjoy when I can walk outside and see God's green earth because it reminds me of how small I am and how big God is and just how magnificent
Yes.
He is. I'm like, wow, the trees are green. They could just be like rustling. It's like all of this is moving in synchrony. And so I really think about just pouring into myself through walks and admiring God's love for me through nature. And then when I think about my mind, I'm constantly reading. That's one of the ways that I show myself self love is just being able to take some time away to do something I enjoy, which is that and like the quiet and the stillness of that. I think sometimes we can get in the hustle and bustle of things, and there's a time for that, but I've been hearing a lot of people talk about just like meditation or mindfulness or just even stillness. And I know the Bible talks about that, and God like took time away in the Bible to read the word and pray. So I do that in addition to quiet time, just stilling my mind, whether it's through meditation or even just reading, kind of being in that space. And then when I think of soul, what's happening at your church and things of that nature, I think about just pouring into myself by being a part of the church home. That was really important to me. I've moved around quite a bit. And so one of the things that I always make it a point to do is to find a local church to be connected to in some fashion. So those are just some of the things that I do. Of course, there's other ways that I'm like, just spending time with friends or family and just like doing fun things. That's always good. Connecting with people is really big for me. But those are some of my key ways that I show love for myself.
Yeah, it is. I remember when I first came back to Missouri, when I used to, I mean, getting off of 55 and hitting 74 to come to the property, I felt like I got new eyeballs. Like the grass was so greener, and to see the fields like planted in wheat and soybeans, my heart was just like leaping. I was like, "What is wrong with me?" Like these are the things that I ran from, right? Like let me get out of Missouri fast.
Yes.
And so, but to be back and see all of the beauty. And you're so exactly right. Like all of the things that God created, everything out here at Robinson Farms, being able to experience the trees and the nature and going on the nature walks and even the well water. I mean, all of those things that we so take for granted and just the quiet and the still. Like I feel like I've been rejuvenating myself now for the last 3 years since I've been back. And so this is probably the first time that I've had a lot of quiet time by myself. And I'll be going, I'm okay, right? I'm still alive. I'm
Yeah,
still,
you have
I'm
to
still
get
making it.
out
I'm not running
too.
to this
Yes, which
event
I
or
know
that
you do.
event. Yeah, so my husband thought it was going to be so hard. He was like, "Oh, I bet it's rough for you out there." And I'm like, "Why? What are you talking about?" He's like, "There's nobody." And I was like, "No, there's not." But I was okay. I mean, it was like I needed this rest, and so I'm glad that I had the opportunity to take the time uh, to have some rest. Because I know that the next phase of this is getting ready to be on and popping, Michelle. So we're ready for it.
Oh
So I
yeah, absolutely. And one thing I
my
do want to add, because I love coming out to the farm for all the reasons you said, and Drew, you and your entire family have a way of making people feel like home. And so I think that there's something to be said about those stiller moments and that quiet in nature. That's what Robinson Farms offers and provides, is like you literally can wake up and feel like completely rejuvenated, like you've been there for 3 days and you've been there for 12 hours. At least
right.
that's how my experience was, because your mind is able to kind of like be at peace, and I love that about the farm.
Yeah, I think it's because it's so familiar for us, right? We grew
Mm-hmm.
up on a farm. We grew up uh, in the still, and so I don't know. It's like second nature to us to be able to bring people out and show them, how we were raised and the things that we got to experience. I mean, never in a million years did we think that the way we were growing up would be an experience for people in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Just so simple and uh, people would call it the country, but those are the things that I know that people yearn to get back to because it is home for a lot of people who left the Midwest or who transitioned, into the cities from the country I call it. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna have more talk. I have taken my steak off. I like my steak kind of medium. Can you guys kind of see my steak?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
It's kind
Yeah.
of medium well. So I don't want it
Mm.
done to, so I'm gonna let it rest. And so while I let my steak rest, I'm gonna take you guys over to what I'm calling my board, right?
Ooh, I love a charcuterie board.
I know, right? And I'm gonna come on over, uh, flip onto the other side, and I hope you guys can see everything.
Mm-hmm. It
Yes,
looks
yes, yes.
so good. It's so fresh.
Yes. So let me tell you. So these are the things that make me happy when I'm resting and all that good stuff. So what I'm my husband loves chocolate lava. He will go to Domino's just to get some chocolate lava. So I
Oh.
thought, I'm gonna make some chocolate lava. All I did was I made up some devil's food cake because I love it. And it's still warm. And I got some uh, icing and I just melted my icing down. And I'm gonna do mine real simple. I'm just gonna
Drew, how do you make this stuff look so amazing? I'm
I,
just like, I
oh,
learned so
well,
much
that
from
wasn't
you.
amazing. My
Why
top
don't you
said
get
it
your
was
husband
not
gonna
going
be
to
proud?
participate.
No, that's amazing. And so it has chocolate inside.
So I didn't put the chocolate inside because I'm one of those people who don't like stuff wet.
Okay.
This is about as wet as I can stand.
Okay, with the
So
icing.
all I
Okay.
did was I melted um some some cake icing. Mhm.
Okay.
Some cake icing for my lava. And
Uh-huh.
then if you want to, you can put ice cream on top of yours, but I'm good with uh, just a dollop of whipped cream.
Mm-hmm.
And then I love a good strawberry
Oh
moment.
yes.
And then this.
This is
That looks
ready to
so
eat.
yummy.
So I'm not going to eat my dessert before I eat my food, but I'm going to let you guys know what else is on my board, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
what else I have is I have some popcorn. I love popcorn. My daddy loved popcorn. So it's like when he passed away, I think all of us started eating popcorn. I don't know how that stuff works, but I popped some popcorn and I put smoked paprika on mine. It is so good. And because my brother Charles used to do it to us all the time, we put hot sauce on it too. But today I just did some smoked paprika.
Yes, so
Yes, and
good.
then I have some fruit. So I also have my strawberries and my grapes, and I love just a little bit more chocolate. And I'd rather have my chocolates have a little bit of crunch to it. So I have the chocolate with almonds. And then one of my favorite drinks. I mean, my kids love this, especially Brandon, because I think it made him feel grown
Yes.
to have some of this Martins. And so it's just a good way for me to not drink soda so much, but I will get me a good glass of this.
Yes. It looks
And
so good.
it is. It's so refreshing. So what I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
do, I'm gonna bring my steak over, and then I'm gonna show you guys how I prepare uh, my open face steak with all my chocolate on my. So let me grab it.
Okay. This is so exciting. Does anybody else get excited about food?
Grabbing the steak. I'm gonna push that all the way over. Now, all I did, I took some French bread, right? And I cut
Uh-huh.
mine at an angle. I put a little butter on it and some garlic. And so
Mm.
I did those two. And then here's my steak. And of course, you guys, you know how to cut your steak, but I like mine on the grain. Ooh,
Okay.
it's so nice and so tender.
Mm-hmm.
Mama would be proud. No, it's funny because my dad was the steak cooker, but
Did your mom cook steaks too?
so she did. She would grill them though, so never like a
Okay.
pan sear
Mm-hmm.
or anything on the steak. Because my dad would take and kill a cow or a hog, and so we would have all of our our meats packaged. It would say Robinson, not for sale. That's what
Wow, that's
that's
amazing.
what
See,
would happen
y'all
when you
grew
went to
up
the
like
freezer.
a
So it was not
real.
like you got meat from the store. It would say Robinson on it, and it would tell you what cut of meat that it was. Right.
That's amazing. All I
Mhm.
know is the grocery store. That's wild.
The grocery store.
That's so
Now,
cool.
normally I don't put anything on mine because I just really want to be able to taste the steak and
Mm.
the just the bread with the garlic on it. But you can always layer and add some lettuce to yours and layer your sandwich as well that way. But I just love having that cut of meat. And sometimes I'll just put it inside of the lettuce as well to eat in the lettuce. But this is like top tier. And like I said, this is pretty much good enough for me to add to my board, and this will be my lunch for today, and then I'll have the rest of the steak to eat for the rest of the week and be so fine.
Fabulous.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab a rag and we're gonna finish talking.
Okay.
I'm just gonna wash my hands off.
I just want to say one thing about Drew. She will whip up a whole like gourmet meal in 15 minutes. And I'm like, how did you do that? I just turned around and the steak is done. Like, what?
Right now, there was a couple of things that I forgot to tell you guys. So what I did was, because this is like a steak, so to me, steak always kind of says, "Oh, potato," and I go, "Oh, steak." So what I did was I took one large potato and I actually made some wedges, and I would also top it off with that, and so that just makes me right happy. That is a meal. You cut it, you eat it, and then you get to go, yes. And so I'm excited about sharing this meal with Michelle. Michelle, what'd you cook today? What'd you
You
put on
know,
your
I
self
probably should
care
have cooked,
board?
but in true millennial style, I went to brunch with a friend. And then I made a smoothie. So
Woo!
I
Now,
have a
how did you
smoothie.
make your
Usually I
smoothie?
have
Do you have a
almond milk in it. So it's like a bright green. But I have to grab some right now. This has
mm,
spinach in it. It has strawberry, mango, pineapple juice, pineapples, and I think I said strawberries. So yeah, this is what I got, and it's so healthy and delicious.
Mm.
People look at green things and think they're not sweet, but this is extremely sweet with the pineapple juice and the fruit. So this is probably like a cup and a half, 2 cups of fruit right here in this smoothie, and then you meet your, quota for the day. So I love it. This is something I drink all the time, and I always feel an energy boost with it too. So that's what
Well,
I'm enjoying today.
well, I'm sorry. I'm over here enjoying this sandwich. It is
I
so good.
know, I know. That looks good though.
I'm gonna have to make this for the team.
Oh
I'll
yeah,
switch yours
absolutely. You
up, but
know, like we will devour it.
it is. I think the
That's such
last
a
couple of
creative
times I've been
take
home, my
though
son
on
was like, "Oh, can
steak.
you make me these steak sandwiches that you put in ciabatta bread?" And I was like, "I made that."
I know. It's
He
like
was
that's
like,
such a
"Yes," and
cool
so I
take.
whipped him up. I whipped him up for Nicholas. I was like, "Going okay, steak and ciabatta bread."
Hmm.
Yes, yes, yes. But getting back to our self care.
Hmm.
I think you said that you have been reading, and so tell me some of the things that you read. And are you mindful of reading things that like pour into your spirit, or things that definitely complement what you know to be the truth? When you're reading your Bible as well. So
Yeah.
or do you like reading fiction? Like what does reading look like for you?
Yeah, I actually enjoy nonfiction. So I'm like, I feel like I'm telling all my business to the internet,
Wait a
but
minute, were you a Harry Potter girl?
no, I wasn't.
Driana, she hated Harry Potter because
Oh
it took her.
yeah.
I
I mean,
told
I
you
watched
that
the
class in
movies, but that was
1991.
about it. It's people, they know all the houses. I'm like, huh? I wish. But no, I watched the movies, so I have like a high level understanding, but I didn't read the books. I actually didn't fall in love with reading until I was in my mid 20s, actually.
Mm.
The book that made me fall in love with reading was Brene Brown's Daring Greatly. So I highly
I love
recommend that.
her.
Yes, isn't Brene amazing?
She is. Every time I see her on Oprah, I'll be like, okay, you coming to see me? When you coming to see
Yes.
me?
Yes, and I often go back to I think it's Theodore Roosevelt, because that's how she starts off the quote, and I often go back to that. So I love that book. I pretty much love anything from Brene Brown. Lately, I just read a book called "Ego Is the Enemy,"
Ooh,
and
it's short. So you can say that again.
yes,
You have to
and
tell me about that. How,
it's by Brian. I forget Holiday. It's so good. I probably read it in a week. I was intimidated a little bit because the front looks like it's gonna be like really, really long. But he basically talks about how ego takes down like the greatest empires, the greatest leaders, and it really does tie back into Christianity and the Bible specifically about how pride goes before the fall. And in this
Ooh,
book, he talks about all of it, and he it's basically a plea to be humble and save yourself before you get to the point where you know, ego becomes your enemy, like you fall. And it's so good.
wow.
Yes, very powerful. So he goes through history, and like Loki, I'm a history buff too. So I love how he gives real practical examples of people like from the business world, the philosophers. Just he goes all the way back. So it's really good. And then actually, this is a little preview. I'm going to be interviewing an author on the Christ Over Culture podcast here soon, and she wrote a book called Breaking the Patterns That Break You.
Ooh,
So good.
yes.
And she really talks about like she grew up in the foster care system, and she basically says like the way your story started isn't the way your story has to end. And I just love the transformation that takes place. And now she has foster children, and she opens up her home to so many for it to be a safe place. So that's a good book too. So I enjoy stories. I think that's why I enjoy talking to
Yeah.
people so much. And when I read people's books, I love stories.
You are an amazing storyteller. Every time I see certain panels, I'm like, yes, you got me. You got
Oh,
me.
but but you make it easy. I'm like, you guys have such a phenomenal story. I'm like, the world should like let's tell it. So thank you, but really, you are it's your story. And I believe everybody has a story to tell.
They really do.
Yeah. So that's what I love. That's what I've been reading lately. Those two books, Ego is the Enemy, Breaking the Patterns That Break You. There's a book called The Pivot Year, since it's the top of the year, by Brianna Weiss. That's really good. I read that last year. It just reminds you like what you need is inside of you.
It is so true. Let me see. What have I been reading?
Yeah, what have you been reading?
I and because we're going to get back to what's inside of you, because that is so good.
Uh-huh.
Um, Fawn Weaver's Love and Whiskey.
Yes, you know we love fine.
Yes, 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 yes. I have been reading Tabitha Brown.
Oh
And
yeah.
then the other girl, my
Which
favorite
one?
girl, Sheila Johnson. So I mean, I know it's because of what I'm adventuring and aspiring to do right now. And so,
Mhm.
looking at these women, they give you so much, encouragement. Just hearing their stories and knowing their stories, that they did the hard thing to get to where they are. And so, getting to where you are is never easy. So you just
Uh-huh.
have to do the hard thing to get there. And so, drawing strength from some of the things that they've had to go through, and some of their decision making, seeing those things from different perspectives, they really kind of stir up the gift in me, of what's inside of you. And so me and my sister off Crystal, we often talk about that, about how you can, um, both of us, and my older sister Janice, we had the privilege of all going to college, and that for some reason that was just something that was innately in my father, is that all of his daughters would go to school, and so we had these aspirations of having these careers and dreaming up all these things, and after we had done all that, we were like, okay, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And we're like, stay at home mama, because our mother was a stay-at-home mother. And
Yes.
so, growing up, you're like, oh, after you get these degrees and stuff, you're like going, oh no, we're not going to be stay-at-home mothers. No, that's not what we're doing. No, we want to be stay-at-home mothers.
So you do or you don't?
We do that. Like that's our dream. That
That's
was
your
our
dream.
dream.
Like even after all of like the amazing things each of you have has accomplished,
Yeah, yes. And so
that is
now
your
I don't think
dream.
it's going to happen because all our kids are grown. So
Yeah, they are.
maybe
Yeah.
it'll happen with the grandkids. I'll quit everything, and I've already told my kids I'm gonna quit everything, and when the grandbabies come, and I'm just gonna be the grandmother.
You all would be, I mean, you're already cool. So I'm like, cool grandmother doesn't even measure up to what I would be. Like, I can
No,
see the kids going to
so
you
Crystal
all's
might want to
houses
be
more than
called.
their parents.
Yeah, yeah. She might be want to call. She might want them to call her grandma or something. I've already said, I want to be called Medea or Big Mama. Like I want the old school to
You
come
want the
back.
old school?
Yes, yes, yes. When the kids run the house, they can say Big Mama, and I was like, yes, baby,
Yes.
yes.
I can see a Medea.
Because we had a Medea. I,
Oh
she
wow.
was this she wasn't our aunt or anything. she
Uh,
she she was my mother's cousin, but she
wow.
was older than my mother, and we called her Medea, and she was this big lady, like tall. She was tall, and she had like so much strength, nobody dare cross Medea.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure not.
You come in Medea's house, you doing what Medea said. But it's those things that were already inside of me. I know that, um you think about all of the things that your parents try to instill in you, and all of the things that God wants us to see, that he's already put down inside of us. And I tell my kids now, because I understand what that is, that whatever careers that they choose, they should not go too far away from already what their God-given talents are.
Mm-hmm. You
Things
say
that
that often. I
Yeah,
hear
things
you
that
say
you
that
think are
often.
simple, things that you don't think about. Because with cooking and entertaining and things like that,
Yeah.
I was like, that cannot be my call. Like I do that with my eyes closed. It just
Yeah.
cannot be. It can't be that easy.
Uh-huh.
So I was
Yeah, I'm
looking for the
like the way
hard
you
thing.
do it. Uh-huh. It is, you could tell it's innate.
Yep, it's like a rhythm. It goes,
Mm-hmm.
it goes, it goes, it goes. So yeah, I love. What? How do you think we find what's inside of us?
Oh, that's a good question, Drew. Wow. Um, I think that it is definitely aligned with those things that comes really easy to you.
Hmm.
I think sometimes we feel like we always need to make those things into a business, and I don't think we necessarily do. I've even been caught up in that trap where it's like, oh, I have to turn this into a business.
Hmm.
Whereas it could be just something that you do. It could be a hobby, something you enjoy. I enjoy dancing. Yes, I could be a professional dancer,
You should
but
have been with us yesterday. We learned boots on the ground.
oh, I still have to hear that song. Now I will get on the dance floor. If it's a dance floor, what they say, a dance floor hates to see me coming. Okay, I will be on the
Me
dance
too.
floor. But I just do it because it brings me joy, and I love
Yeah.
doing it with other people. And I think that when it comes to just those natural gifts and talents, you know what just lights you up. And if
Yeah.
you don't, I think that, and I let me just back up and say, service is one of the top things that came to mind too. You know, you may just do it out of service. Like you may be a very organized person. I recall a friend of mine saying like she has the gift of administration, and so she just will do that like for a nonprofit or for her church and not want or get paid for it. Like it's just of service. But it serves others. It's a God given talent and gift. It comes easy to her. And
That is
sometimes
so
you have to try a
beautiful.
few things. And I always say, like, your journey and like your purpose is a process. I think that you discover it over time. Some people
Hmm.
know early on and they just have like that gift. But for me, I kind of had to grow into it. I remember I used to be super scared of public speaking, and now I speak on a
Yeah.
podcast, or I
Very
interview
fluently.
people. So allow yourself to try different things, see what lights you up to answer your question. But it's like that inner being and knowing if you're listening, like,
Hmm.
okay, this is for me and let me do more of it in whatever capacity, like I'm called to do it in.
Yeah, that servant part, I think, when we think about, if we're thinking about how the world is doing stuff, they are always going to say monetize your gift,
Yeah.
monetize, what it is that you do, and it often does not have to be that, because I know that I've served in different capacities over the years in my life and in my career, and I did it, sheerly out of just my abilities and what I could bring to the table and what was in my heart. Never, really expecting anything back, because I did not want it to ever not be joyful, right? And so if I was pulling from a place of joy, which was in my heart, then I could always deliver or serve in that manner. So
Mhm.
yeah, it is definitely serving
Did
is
you
what.
know it would like? How did you know?
So the crazy part is that I am one of those people, and I don't know why God did this. My youngest son is the same way, but whatever he allows me to touch, it just grows. It just becomes something.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm intentionally trying to do it. So I've served in like different capacities, like from being the chair of a trustee board to singing in the choir to ushering. So I mean, it goes from the highs to the lows when people think about, where they want to serve and at what capacities they want to serve. And so, um, but it's always been the same thing. Like I serve out of my heart. And so in that, it all just becomes something bigger than what I thought,
Mhm.
uh, or even bigger than what other people. So it just continues to grow and cascade out, and that's my purpose anyway. I didn't want to take ownership of anything, because I knew that my gifts and my talents are not for me; they are for purposes of serving. So I just kind of make sure that I do that, and then when you see those things remain after you've gone, then you know that you definitely made an impact in a way that is pleasing to the Lord. So
Mm,
yeah, that's
yeah.
kind of my focus when I'm in a serving capacity.
That's good. Yeah.
Yep, it is not ours,
Mhm.
but you do such a good job at it. I've watched you. I've seen you serve your family, and I've seen you served us in the way that you served me. Um, it I'm probably gonna have to write a book about it.
That's how I feel. A book's coming
And
out
you're
of
gonna
this
see, and we're
thing
gonna be like,
because
"Oh, did you read that book Drew wrote? Which one book? That book about servanthood? And who's that about? Michelle Eunice."
no. I feel so
Yeah.
blessed to be able to do what I do. And I thank God. I'm like, God, thank you so much, for allowing me to work with such a beautiful person, a beautiful family. And when I think of like this type of person or people that I prayed for and, dreamed of, like
Hmm.
I mean, you all are definitely that. And so I just feel so privileged to be able to do it. It's a blessing for me, and I'm like, God, thank you for shining your light, that you've given me amazing people to work with, to learn from. Even you all, how you all serve. I'm like, you guys, you just give. And it's a privilege to be able to do this for you. So I'm just grateful.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, I'm excited that we were able to chat today and that people were able to get to glean into this open face steak sandwich with put my potato wedge on top. Uh,
Yes. Okay. Come
it
on
is
now.
it is going to be top tier. So all of this is going to go upstairs with me, and I'm going to sit in my chair,
Oh, and enjoy.
and I'm going to be
Okay, it's
quiet
giving
for the
self care.
rest of the
It's
day.
giving self care. It's giving overflow. It's giving fill your cup.
It until the cup overflows.
Yes,
If it was hotter outside, I would have that coffee chocolate already whipped up,
I know that's right.
headed up the stairs. But no, I am so grateful. And the other thing that I wanted to make sure that I talked about, as we talked about self care, I think one of the things that constantly, like, you know, has been ringing in my ear. It's probably started at the last year, but it still carries through this year and probably and forevermore. It's just that all of these things are like rooted in the fruit of the spirits. And
Hmm.
so I was talking with a friend. We meet on Saturdays during our fast, and I heard one of the people on our chat say, we all know what the fruit of the spirits are, but how do we practice it? How do we remember? How do we remind ourselves that these are the things that we should be exuding? That these are the things that are on the inside. And he actually said, before I go into a difficult conversation or before I go, to have a conversation or before I start my day, I tell myself that I am these things. I am patient. I am kind. I am generous. And I was just like, what? I do have self control. And he just started going through all of the lists of the fruit of the spirit. And I was like, that is so good. And
Yeah.
so I am so mindful now that, I instead of talking about the fruit of the spirit, I say that I am that. Whichever one of them I'm
Mm.
feeling weak in at that particular time, I am kind and I am
Mm.
meek, and I'm like, and I feel myself growing in those areas, and so I'm very mindful of what you said about what's inside of us, and so those are the things that are inside of us that God is trying to get out of us, so that we as the church can continue to spread all of the fruit of the spirits. And
Yes.
the,
Oh, I'm gonna
and
remember that.
and of those things, there is no limit. Like
Yes.
these are the things that when we get to heaven, God be like, "Girl, you did that self control. Okay, yeah, yeah, girl,
Yes.
you was on that
Absolutely.
gentleness." Yeah, and so I'm like, okay.
Yes.
So there's no end to these things that we can continue to pour out, or that He
Hmm.
wants to see come out of us toward our fellow brother and for the kingdom. And so thank you, Tracy, for that good old nugget. That was so good. That was
Yeah,
so
that's
good.
good. That makes me
Mhm.
think of like of these three things, like these things are gonna last. I think it's like hope. I don't want to misquote it, but I know love is in there, and I think maybe faith. And it's like the greatest of these things is love. And so all of the things you just share embodies that love of Christ, right? Why he came for us, why he died for us, what we're meant to do here on this earth, loving our neighbor, loving God, loving each other.
Mhm.
So yeah, that
Yeah.
was good. Thank you, Tracy. Man, that
Woo!
gives me a new
Yes.
perspective. on the fruits of
I
the
asked him. I
spirit.
said, "Is there a minister in the house? Is that why this is so good,
Right.
Mister Tracy?"
Right. That's really good.
No, but it just seeing people grow when you see people and you start to read the word, then you have these. It is inside of you. These things are inside of us, and so
Yeah.
it is our responsibility to make sure that we tap into them so that they can come out of us.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. And so I'm admiring these strawberries. You know, it's fine. I'm admiring these strawberries, but in my head, I'm like, it's January. Where's some
How are
strawberries?
they so red? They look so good. Are they sweet?
Exactly. Well, let me see. They actually are, which that's a
Oh,
problem.
good. Yeah, for it. That's
I don't know where
they.
they came from. This
Yeah,
must
I was
be a
like, they must
Mexican
have come from
strawberry.
some.
They are very tasty because, of course, U.S. Is not strawberry season in the United
Right,
States,
absolutely not. That's good. I'm glad they're sweet.
but they are.
Just like
And
you, Drew. Oh, and for Love Month, I mean, for the sweetest person.
look, that's funny. I have to take that today, but I'd be like, ooh, I thank God for the change.
Transformation in Christ,
Yes.
right? All of us.
Yes, it's funny because, and my mother used to say it to me all. When I tell you, like I've because we have our own way of thinking of ourselves. And then, of course, the Bible tells us that we're not supposed to think more highly of ourselves than we ought to. But my mother used to remind me every now and then. She would say, "Drusilla, you're mean," and I would be looking at her like, "What is she talking about? Like I am the sweetest girl ever. Like what is she talking about?" And when she wasn't watching, yeah, I would pull my sister's hair. Or when she wasn't watching, I was gonna pinch her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what did she see me? What does she know? She was like, I'm gonna need you to fix yourself because you're
Ooh.
me. And I'm like, literally, I could hear her saying that. And so if I thought I was being mean, I was like, dang, my mother said I was mean. How do we get rid of mean girls? She's gotta go.
Yeah, I
And
know.
so
I'm like,
that's
we each
that
have our little, our little things.
yes. And so those
Mm-hmm.
transformations are important. And it's funny because our parents' generation, they
Mm-hmm.
didn't have a problem telling us what they saw.
Mm-hmm.
We sometimes are not as forthright with our children because they might be a little more sensitive than we was because our parents said anything to us.
Mm.
Yeah, but they were not. They didn't have any problem telling us what they saw. If they saw
I
that
think we
you,
all need a little bit more honesty.
yeah, if they saw you had sticky hands, you a thief and a robber.
Yeah,
And you're looking at your mother like, what is she just
this literally just happened with a person because they had that same conversation. So they would probably be like around your parents' age. So it's all coming back to me that, like, yes, you're right. I've heard her, like, they'll say that.
They do, and it tickles me so much. And then, so of course, we have our kids, and we think we got wounded so bad, so we try to find all the nice words. Well, honey, you should not be taking things that don't belong to you. And then me reminded of what my mother said: "You're going to jail. You take
Oh,
something else. You're going to jail."
okay. Look, we got whoopings, so.
Yes. Poor Adriana. She only got one whooping a year, so she really didn't have to have too many spankings because she did not like them, and so she would
Good,
behave.
Driana. Good, Driana, because I
You
couldn't
said that
count
was
how
not you.
many. It wasn't
You and
too
me.
many,
Then
but
you and I
I
had that in
know I
common.
got in
Because, honey,
trouble for sure.
every time Ella would roll around the corner, I'd be like, "Why is this lady attacking me?"
Right. Like I'm glad that phase of life is over.
I can't even imagine. I can't imagine that, Michelle. I can't imagine you getting in trouble.
I don't know what I did, but I knew my dad when he had a belt, it was a wrap. So either
It
way.
was,
It was a wrap. I don't want to revisit those
yeah,
memories.
don't revisit that. Well, I'm going to revisit this board, and I'm going to tell you guys to take some time this month, the month of February,
Yes.
which is the month that we celebrate love, even though we celebrate it every day.
Mm-hmm.
And reflect on your history. We are going to definitely be tapping into some Black history this month, and I want you guys to come along for the ride. Instead of choosing somebody outside the realms of who we might know and think, we are choosing somebody right in our own family who has really, made Black history for us and made some things possible. So I want you guys to make sure that you either follow me on Thursday nights as I go live with some pillow talk, or on Sundays right here at 2 o'clock. And we're going to be talking about what's cooking at your church. But yeah, so I want to share some of you guys my own personal Black history so that you guys can see where I came from. I came from good stock.
Yes, so good. I'm ready for it.
Some good stock. So again, my amazing guest. Thank you so much, Michelle Lenae.
Well, no, thank you, Drew. I can't. I feel like even the words I say just don't speak high enough of you. You are truly God's gift. Thank you for being you. Thank you for pushing and inspiring me, encouraging me. I just,
Yes.
I pray God's blessings over you and everything that you're doing. Thank you for letting me be a part. Thank you for
Yes.
just everything that you do. We are all better, but this world is a better place because your light is in it. So
Woohoo.
thank you. Thank you for having me. And it's just a pleasure. It's a privilege to know you. And just I'm just excited for God working in your life now and even for what's to come. But I just thank him for
Yes.
you now. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And again, you guys, check out Michelle at Christ Over Culture. Subscribe to her podcast. Yeah,
Yes.
and follow her.
Yes. We got merch on the site. All the
Yes.
things.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I'm proud of you and I can't wait to see what else God has planned for you. And until I see you, thank you so much. I love you.
Love you too.
All righty. Bye.
Bye everybody.
Oh, sorry.